I'd like now, team, please, to introduce our first speaker at the symposium, Major Kev Vowles. Kev enlisted in the Australian Regular Army in 2008 as an Army psychologist. He's served in a range of clinical, organisational, staff training and operational roles within 1HSB, Puckapunyal Health Centre, 2 Commando Regiment, JHC Headquarters, the 80th Centre for Mental Health and 1 Psych Unit. He's deployed to Timor-Leste, Indonesia and the Middle East, including SOTG rotations. He holds a Master's in Clinical Psychology. In 2021, Kev transitioned to Circat 5, commenced his career as the General Manager, Head of Clinical Services and Principal Psychologist at a mental health and wellbeing company. Nowadays, Kev provides consulting services to business leaders on psychosocial risk, personnel management and team performance. Today, he'll be speaking to you about the psychology of teams. Welcome.
So in 1914, as war broke out, Sir Ernest Shackleton left England with a crew of 27, heading towards Antarctica on a very ambitious expedition to cross the entire continent, starting from Weddell Sea to Ross Sea. Now, if you can imagine a picture of Antarctica, and most of the expeditions are from Ross Sea, which is below Australia and New Zealand. But he wanted to cross the entire continent from Weddell Sea. Now, his goal was to send a small team from Weddell Sea to the South Pole all the way across to the other side. Now, he sent 2 ships. One went to the Ross Sea to be there for that small team, and the rest of the team and the larger of the ships went to Weddell Sea. Now, he carried lots of resources. He was well prepared, and my goodness, it was a very well-resourced expedition, including scientists, doctors, tradespeople, and many animals, including 100 dogs to help them get across the whole continent. Now, Shackleton had already explored Antarctica. He was very experienced, and I'll talk about his leadership soon. But he was poised to really achieve this very ambitious expedition. Unfortunately, as they entered into Weddell Sea, the ship Endurance got trapped into ice, and they couldn't escape. They weren't close enough to land to start their expedition, and therefore they had to sit there in their ship for 10 months as it started to drift away in the ice, trapped there, unable to escape. Unfortunately, after 10 months of being trapped there, it cracked and sunk, and they had to escape from the ship into their 3 whale boats, and again stay on ice and start drifting further away from land. They spent 5 months on that until the ice was unstable enough and they had to jump into their whale boats. They then sailed to Elephant Island. Elephant Island was the last island that they could sail up to, that they could stay there, which was plentiful of penguins and seals to eat and survive on. Now, Shackleton knew this particular location. There wasn't a lot of ships that went by, so they had to get somewhere else. They identified South Georgia, where a whale station was on the east coast, and they had to get there. So Shackleton made the decision to keep 22 of his crew on Elephant Island, and he selected 5 other people, including himself, to go in a small whale boat called the James Caird and travel 1,300 kilometres from Elephant Island all the way to South Georgia. Now, a whale boat is about 7 metres long, and throughout their sailing trip, which was described as one of the greatest small boat survival journeys, they were facing horrendous, or as they describe, the furious 50s, winds and weather, and at times for about a 24-hour period they experienced a hurricane. And in those weather conditions, waves or swell can be up to 14 metres high. Now you can imagine in a boat of 7 metres approximately from the wall to here, with waves or swell higher than the roof here. That journey has been recreated many times since then, and it's been absolutely challenging. Back then, over 100 years ago, they wore minimal gear that was just absolutely saturated, and they were absolutely seasick for the entire period. 16 days traveling across there, navigating very minimal because there was very little sun at that time, and with the old navigational technology, they can only pinpoint their location at a particular time of the day when the sun was at its brightest. So they got to South Georgia, goodness, after an amazing journey, and only 3 of them, including Shackleton, were well enough to get over South Georgia's crevasse and mountainous terrain, and it took them 36 hours to get across and to the whale station to finally get to safety, and then rescue their team. Now, their team back on Elephant Island was stuck there for 4.5 months. 4.5 months without any communication from their leader, without any news of what was happening in the rest of the world, especially with the war that was going on at the time. There was one particular officer that got up every morning, packed up his gear, went down to the beach and said, man, our boss is going to arrive today. That's one of the things that I want to focus on today, but many other things that I'm going to discuss. Shackleton was absolutely determined to rescue his fellow crewmen back on Elephant Island that were stuck there for 4.5 months. It took him more than 2 attempts to rescue them, but eventually he did. And amazingly, no one died, and he rescued and got everyone back home nice and safe. Now, Shackleton's been described as a Viking with a woman's touch, or a mother's touch. Nowadays, you could possibly describe that as stoic and emotionally intelligent. Someone who was able to engage with others and really understand what was so important to them and really get them on board to the mission and what he really wanted to achieve. An amazing character, and I'm reading currently South, which he wrote, and it's about that particular journey across the ocean from Elephant Island to South Georgia. So his team, 4.5 months on Elephant Island, not a word from their leader, but promised and trusting that their leader will come back and rescue them. Trust is the topic that I'm going to discuss today, and I'm also going to make some comments about how to build and how to enhance trust in teams. Now, trust is a vital component to human relationships and to the performance of high-performing teams. Now, in preparation for this presentation, I asked my 4- and 6-year-old what they thought was trust. And my 6-year-old had a think about it, and he said, it's when I feel safe with someone. And that spoke volumes. And then my 4-year-old piped up and said, I don't know, can you help me explain or understand? And I said, okay, right. Well, let's look at this chair, all right? So this chair, if it has all 4 legs and it's solid, it's stable, then you can trust it will keep you seated without falling over. However, if there's a slight break or if there's one leg missing, then it might be less reliable. You might not be able to trust it as well to hold you up. So I used that analogy to kind of explain it to those two, and then my 4-year-old piped up and said, can I ask the chair a question? And so I might have to work on her a little bit more, but my 6-year-old, he said, yes, it's when I feel safe, and it's really good. So in clinical supervision with my supervisor and also those who I supervise, I like to ask the question when we're trying to describe a concept, how can we describe this to a child? Because then we have to use simple language. Now, a word reliable isn't necessarily something that they can understand or know, but things like safe and we will do what we've promised to do, kind of putting it into a more of a behavioural action, then we can articulate or communicate what that concept is a little bit clearer to a larger audience. So thank you for that. And I referenced research. Deloitte did some research last year on trust. And they found that employees who trust their senior leader, 260% more motivated at work, 260%. Now, other researchers found that employees are more engaged at work and perform a lot higher when they do have trust in their leaders. So today, not only am I going to talk about trust as a vital component to high-performing teams, but also 3 factors that can help in developing and enhancing trust in teams. Now, the first one is psychological safety. Now, we've heard of it. We'll go into a little more detail today. Second one is creating connection, that human element when interacting with others. And thirdly, it is the creating a meaningful future. And I'll go through that once again also later on. So our scenario here is going to be, I'm going to lead you in a backcountry ski and camping trip. A 3-day trek out at Bogong High Plains just outside Falls Creek. And I'm going to ask you how much you trust me to do and lead you out on this trip. On a rating of 10, 10 being I trust you 100%, 0 being I don't trust you at all. I'm actually a little bit worried about going on this trip with you. So how much do you trust me on leading you on this trip?
First of all, I'm going to ask you, do you have any experience?
Let's say no experience. Yeah, none.
It's a little bit tricky, I don't know.
Yep.
Trust you or not.
Just take a stab.
5.
5. Okay, nice. How much would you trust me in taking you out?
Maybe 4 for now.
4, 4.5. Yep, okay, yep.
Probably like 10.
About 10? Yeah. You trust me 100%?
No, okay. Sorry. 1 to 10, right?
Yes. Yeah, 10 being the most, 0 being I don't trust you at all.
4, 5.
4 or 5. Okay, so we're averaging there. Okay, yeah. No worries. Cool. All right, so we've just arrived at Windy Corner at Falls Creek. Okay, and what we're going to do, obviously we've got our packs ready, we've got our skis ready, and we're going to go for a ski. So put your packs on, put your skis on, all right, just simulate this, okay? All right, cool. And then you got your bindings in so you can't really escape, and just follow me. Yeah, we're skiing along, we're going across, we've trekked about 5 kilometres. Oh gosh, I forgot goggles. Oh gosh, and there's a storm coming. Oh God, your eyes are looking a little bit red there. Or maybe we should evacuate. I don't know. What should we do? Take your goggles? Yeah, I don't know. What, there's a storm. It's getting a little bit risky here. I don't know what to do.
Call 000.
000? Yeah. Oh crap, we're quite remote. I've got no reception. I don't know what to do. We need to get you out because you've got snow blindness. Gosh, I don't know. All right, let me pause there. You move back there. All right, end of scenario 1. Let's review or re-rate your confidence in me in leading you out there. What's your confidence? A bit less. What was your rate now?
3.
About a 3, okay. That makes sense. How was your rate? Your trust in me in leading another trip like this?
No, not at all.
Not at all. Okay, so it's gone down. No worries. What about you?
It depends. Is it like exercise or army?
Let's say no because it wouldn't have passed the risk assessment.
Maybe 0.
0. Okay. Well, thank you so much. Now, why do we think that their trust has decreased?
I'm surprised that didn't start with me.
So why would their trust have decreased as a result of their experience?
Because you haven't demonstrated competence.
Yeah, okay. So I don't present as competent. Yep.
Well, you didn't really start from a strong base.
No, not really. No. What else? What else indicates?
You might have broken some assumptions that you've done some risk management for the trip.
Yeah, it sounded a bit loose, didn't it? Yeah, absolutely. Not really considering their safety. Yep.
You're not leading, sir. You're basically asking them questions of what to do, and you're supposed to be the experienced person.
Yeah, it's not really giving them clear direction or confidence. Absolutely.
Their trust in you.
Yeah, they did. They did, absolutely. As evidenced by their new ratings of the trust in me. Thank you so much for helping out. Please go back. Now, just to confirm, none of you know me. I've never really worked with you at all before. Yeah, good. All right, well, I'm Kevin. And what's your name? And what helps you trust people?
Confidence.
Confidence. Yeah?
Confidence in their ability, the way they do things, and they do what they say they do.
Yeah, absolutely. So they walk the talk. Yeah. I'm Kevin. Juliana, is it? Yeah. And what helps you trust people?
Feeling safe around them.
Really? Feeling safe.
Rely on them.
And you can rely on them. Yep. Feeling so walk the talk, rely on them and feeling safe. And I'm Kevin. Chelsea. Nice to meet you. What helps you trust people?
Probably that competency.
Yep.
Whatever task they're doing, they know how to do it well and stuff.
Yeah, so there's that demonstrated competence that gives you that confidence, but also that trust that they're going to do something at the expected standard. Yeah, absolutely. Right, well, we're going to go on the same scenario. However, I'm going to make you feel a little bit more reassured that I know what I'm doing. So just for a background, I suppose, check, is that I am a qualified UATL. I have actually conducted about 12 backcountry and ski and alpine survival AT activities. And here we are at Whitney Corner at Falls Creek, which I've gone out probably about 10 of those times. I know it really well. So we've gone through all the lessons, including our snow plows, which is most important for beginner skiers, especially with packs, which can be rather difficult. Snow plow is the most recommended way of controlling your speed going down. Now, the first day is pretty flat. We are going to go down to a bit of a bowl to start off with. We'll conduct a few more lessons, but it'll be about a 3 kilometre trek to camp across the dam wall to start off with, and then we'll set up camp. And then the following days, 3 days overall, we'll then trek around the lake and then come back to Falls Creek on the last day, and we'll have some hot chocolate and make sure that you're well showered after that, as you can get a little bit dirty out there. But you know what? It's going to be great, and I know exactly what I'm doing because I've got lots of experience. Now, so we've got 3 of you, and what I'll do, I'll just stick on the side here, okay, and we'll have you at the front, you bring up the rear, and you can stay in the middle, and we'll just continue on, and we'll ski along here. Yep, nice one. Use your poles, bit of a glide. Yep. Oh my goodness. You fell over. Oh, goodness. You broke. You broke your arm. Okay. Well, firstly, I'll just do some first aid here. And you know what? We'll make sure that we empty your pack. Okay. We'll divide across all our 3 packs, and we'll make sure that we ski them out nice and safely. Now, are you okay in skiing out?
Yes.
Are you good? Okay. What we're going to do, we're going to ski all the way back on the same track, and it's pretty clear, good skies. But we need to make sure that you get back to Falls Creek Health Centre, get checked out, and maybe we'll take you straight down to the hospital also upon their recommendation. But are you okay with that? Yep, okay. Now, I will be right next to you to ski all the way down. And you guys okay in skiing just ahead with the weight? It's a little bit heavier, but are you okay with that? Yeah? Okay. So let's ski. Oh, yeah. Yep, all right, all good. Okay, stop there. Oh, goodness, okay. Now, reflect back on how you were perceiving the trust that you may have had at the beginning. Looking at the first scenario, thinking, gosh, he's not that competent. But do you feel as though you can trust me more after that experience?
Yes.
Yes.
Because engaging, and obviously when the scenario evolved, obviously you had your plan, you worked your plan through, Yeah, trust was there. You basically walked the talk.
Yeah, so walk the talk, but also I was clear on my instructions and there was a plan in place, and that created a bit more safety and you felt there was a bit more trust. Yeah. Did you feel as though your trust was increasing?
Yeah. You knew what you were talking about, and you had the confidence about it.
Yeah, okay. So that demonstrated competence and the confidence as well. Yeah. And what about you? Did your trust increase or decrease?
Yeah, probably. If something like that were to happen and someone took charge like the way that you did, it would be like, yeah, it's all good. We got this.
Yeah, absolutely. We got this, and our leader knows what to do. Terrific. Well, thank you so much for coming up. Make your way back to your seats. On the topic of clear communication, creating that safety, and helping the team feel more confident and have greater trust, I'm going to go through those 3 factors that I mentioned before to focus on. As leaders or even as team members, you can focus on these to build trust within the team that can really enhance not only the relationships but also performance too. So firstly, psychological safety. So psychological safety is that shared belief that it's okay to express one's ideas and concerns, ask questions, and disclose any mistakes without any negative consequence. Now, as human beings, we avoid risks. And when there is a danger, a known danger, whether it be something that we perceive or whether we can actually physically see it, it activates the flight or fight, the stress response system. And so when people are stressed, then their ability to concentrate, their ability to problem solve and even communicate decreases. So when we create a safe environment for someone to express themselves and share their concerns, then that lowers their distress and it can enhance their concentration and their problem solving and subsequently perform a lot higher. So how do we enhance psychological safety? Well, firstly, with regards to communication, which I think is absolutely vital in any relationship and team, is to be transparent and clear in your communication, especially when there's change. Create a culture of appreciation and show your gratitude on a regular basis, even when, and especially when people raise mistakes. Because you're creating an environment where it's okay to raise concerns or voice their own errors and mistakes. In fact, we grow more and we learn more from our failures than our successes. It's important that we share our mistakes and errors in learning. And thirdly, with regards to enhancing psychological safety, is get to know your team. Spend the time to understand what's most important to them. Secondly, create connection. Now you saw at the beginning of the second scenario, I was creating that connection compared to the first scenario. I was introducing myself, I was trying to get to know what was important with trust with each individual, and that was a simple demonstration of building that connection. Now, connection helps team members with a sense of belonging and helps them answer the question, do I belong here? It's very important to have that sense of belonging. And research has found that team members who have that sense of belonging experience a 56% increase in performance, which really highlights the importance of belonging. So how do we create that connection? So firstly, spending time to engage and get to know each individual and what's most important to them. Shackleton spent a lot of time with his crew to understand what was most important with them. And even with those that weren't very good at communicating. There was one in particular that he played a card game just to really build that connection non-verbally. And so he used a number of strategies to really build that connection and trust. Because 4.5 months without any word from their leader, surely they would have had trust that their leader was going to rescue them from Elephant Island. The second area that I want to also highlight in building that connection is clearly communicating your expectations of the individuals and relating their role, their task, their projects to the overall mission. Clearly communicating that so that they understand what they are expected to do. And finally, the third factor that I recommend focusing on in developing trust in teams is that development of a meaningful future. So as humans, we tend to thrive when we know what we are doing is leading to a meaningful future. Now, meaning, purpose, direction, they create certainty and they lower distress. We thrive with knowing what is going to happen. In contrast, we feel very anxious and fearful when we don't know what to expect. So by clearly articulating what's going to happen, what's expected, and having a plan in place for team members to know how they're going to, or the team overall, how we're going to achieve the mission, is really going to help in developing that trust. So another area that I recommend to focus on in developing that meaningful future is believing in the mission and believing that our future is brighter than the past. And finally, just on that last factor of developing trust is set a clear path, articulate that in written and verbal communication to your team so that they have that certainty and they believe that this leader knows where we're going because of this detailed plan. So I just want to recap before I open up to any questions, is that trust is a vital component to relationships and to team performance. There's 3 factors that I've briefly covered that I recommend focusing on, including psychological safety, which is a vital component to helping people feel comfortable in expressing themselves, creating that connection, spending that time with others, and helping you understand what's most important to them. And finally, that meaningful future. Having a clear plan and communicating that helps people feel more certain towards the future and less distressed, and subsequently able to focus on the task at hand. So that's what I want to cover, trust, and finally the HPO cell that Colonel Costello leads, I think is a fantastic resource that in the big corporate world that I'm in, you can spend thousands of dollars and you've got it at your the tip of your fingers there and accessible and free. So I recommend tapping into that when you can. How do we package the concepts for developing trust in an operational space? I reflect back on my last deployment as a senior psych in the Middle East. I worked hard in making sure that the team, I had that connection with the team knew the plan. And I think those concepts are quite adaptable to such an environment where we can develop the connection. And the operational environment is very agile, fast-moving, and we need to develop that connection at the beginning because team dynamics can really rupture if a lot of the fast-moving components of an operation are the focus rather than repairing the rupture in the team. I think it's absolutely vital to create that connection at the beginning of an operation and maintain that throughout because it is the capability that's most important. Interesting, I reflect back on my corporate role, it's all about the money. And I love the focus in Army about, or defence in general, about capability. And I think if we create that foundation, that connection, and that trust, then that's going to continue that capability so that we have that effect on the overall mission in that operational space. I think it's quite telling that on my eight deployments, it's a very fast-moving environment, and that connection is absolutely vital at the beginning. Yeah.
Just a quick question. That typical forming, storming, norming, performing process that teams go through.
Yeah.
I was working on Talisman, say, where I had a team of 12. You know, they were constantly, people were coming in, going out, you know, 7 weeks I was there. We went through this phase multiple times where new people entered the team, you know, people left, etc. How do you think we could sort of use some of these concepts to sort of make that forming, storming big?
Yeah, and I know what you mean. In the business that I manage, it's a high turnover of people, and it really does disrupt the team dynamics. And once again, you have to go through the whole team development processes, or the forming, storming, norming, performing. And what I focus on is that connection with the individuals onboarding and ensuring that there's that transparency. I'm absolutely upfront with what's going on with the business, what we're doing, and our future with every meeting that I have with the meeting, and I'm inclusive of team members in all those discussions, even though they may not have an appreciation of what's going on because they're new. But I do recommend continuing that throughout whatever time period you have a team, that team is changing with members. Still, your leadership or your approach to creating that trust should be the same throughout. Yeah.
With the latest psychology around trauma, the scenario with the cross-country skiing, someone broke their arm. Unfortunately, within our experience, our teams may need to perform after experiencing trauma, and obviously that results in people losing their ability to express their skills and competency. What's some of the latest psychology about reforming and performing after experience?
Yeah. And so I'm also an instructor in the critical incident mental health support that we do in defence, and I do acknowledge that after a critical incident, it can really shake up not only an individual but also a team. And there might be individuals that are still recovering whilst others are returning back into work. And it's really difficult to really help with performing of the whole team when people are going through recovery at different speeds. So it is something that has to be tailored. There's no one model, and definitely at the beginning, immediately after a critical incident, there needs to be attending to their basic needs. And then that's a whole different model. But in terms of how we can maintain trust, well, it's once again the same model that I recommend even after a critical incident. A leader of a team needs to maintain consistency with how they approach and manage the team with regards to enhancing or maintaining the trust. And that also includes that maintaining psychological safety, that connection, and helping the people understand that there's a meaningful future for them. So I recommend maintaining that no matter what the circumstance, whether it be on operations, whether it be after a critical incident, or just day-to-day business. I think a leader needs to be consistent with those approaches. Yeah.
Is how do we know when trust is not there? Because it's really easy to assume trust in your team if you come in with a particular experience or background or whatever. You just assume, hey, my team's going to trust me. How do you know that they're not trusting you? How do you know when trust is not there?
Yeah, and a really good question.
What do you do about it?
Yeah, absolutely. I remember having to performance manage someone that I recruited who there was no trust, unfortunately, and had to give them the sack. Unfortunately, in the corporate world, if they're not performing, they're out of the organisation. and that was a tough decision, but it had to be made. What are the other signs of perhaps a lack of trust? So values, ethos, and not mean what's expected of them. What I recommend to either find out or mend that lack of trust is absolutely spot on. Ask. If you pick up on some signs that a person is avoiding you, not communicating well, or not meeting the standard, then it's absolutely time to ask about trust and whether there's anything that we need to work on. I appreciate your time. Thank you so much for listening, and ma'am, over to you.